while we're waiting to figure out the immune system, which is really what BRI's mission is, that the plan is to see if we can close that loop and make it easier for people with diabetes. Now, the other thing, in case you missed it, she's an MD PhD student, right? So I'm hoping that soon she's going to be standing here, and she'll be the future of what we're doing for research, and has the experience of saying, as a participant, as well as somebody who understands the science and the biology, will really lead us in the next generation of doing studies. But I want to emphasize again, why is it really this research is happening at BRI? It is not our sweet spot. This is not really what we're focused on, technologies and devices. We're focused on the immune system and fundamentally curing the disease. And the biggest reason we're doing it is because we're passionate about making lives better for people living with type 1 diabetes. And so when this opportunity came, we discussed it among the group and we said, this is something we can do and we know how to do it. But I wanted to tell you the story of how we actually got this connection. It's kind of an interesting story. So Rick Moss-Seth, who's the medical doctor here, is a pediatric endocrinologist that's taken care of literally almost every child with type 1 diabetes up until the last 10 years or so within the greater Seattle area. He's just a well-beloved doctor who's taken care of many patients. One of his patients, father, was a Boeing engineer. And Don, the Boeing engineer, once he got used to the fact that his child had diabetes and witnessed her every day having to check her blood sugars all the time and witnessed her having to take insulin injections and eventually using a pump, he recognized that as uncomfortable and as difficult it is to watch your child having to check blood sugars and do injections, the really hard part of diabetes is you never get time off, ever. You're constantly thinking. You have to get information from your pump. You have to think about, am I going to exercise? Am I going to eat? What am I having for lunch today? Am I going to go swimming later? It's a constant battle. It's a constant thinking on your brain. And he said, look, I'm an engineer. This is an engineering problem. I can solve this problem. So he went to his buddy, Bob Kirscher, who's also a Boeing engineer, and the two of them thought about this, and they said, we can apply an engineering system that flies airplanes. It's called fuzzy logic. Now, the good news for all of us here is I'm not an engineer. I don't have a clue what fuzzy logic is, but they tell me that is exactly the theory, the engineering principles that allow a plane to stay up in the air. And so they applied the fuzzy logic principles and devised a system working with Dr. Moss-Seth that potentially could be the brains to give people who are living with diabetes brains a little bit of a rest. And so they devised this system, but then they were kind of stuck. 2 years later, I'm traveling in Heathrow, and I'm sitting in the lounge waiting for a connection. Rick Moss-Seth's there. We say, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? He says, we have this fabulous idea. We have this great stuff. We have no idea how to test it. We don't know where to test it. We don't know how to bring it to test it in people. And I said, hey, we do that. We're really good at this. Because not only do we study the immune system, we're all about taking the ideas, whether it's in a basic science laboratory or in an engineer's brain, and bringing it to test in people. So the addition problem here is that we had Rick Moss-Seth, we had the two Boeing engineers who formed a little company called Dose Safety. But partnering with us at BRI, we were able to make the clinical trial happen that Alex participated in. And importantly, we were able to take advantage of NIH funding under the Small Business Association. They have connections when small businesses partner with academic institutions. So without our participation, Dose Safety never would have been able to test this new system.